Can they hear me? Can they hear me live out there? Next beat. That ain't the beat I want.
Those was wood
another
beats
beat.
right
Another
there.
beat.
You know?
Nope. Give me another beat. Give me another beat. Nope, that's not it. That's the beat. Turn it up.
Oh, word.
Turn it up. I gotta hear it a little louder. Can you make it louder on my headphones? Turn me up in my headphones. I'm still stuck in the 80s/90s. Lottos, kangaroo boots, nanny ghosts, Velas, jumpsuits and troops, Junos, color Levi's, Bugs Bunny sweaters with the rhinestone ring on it. Fighting and making up the next day. Nobody gets shot. Working a hustling to get it, a get got. We had love for the streets, our family, our foes, our friends. Respect for the elderly. Pager/payphone, sneaking into Adams Theater, watching Crush grooving tougher than leather. Hopping gates out the college.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is webisode number 103 of the X-Cast. It's day 5477 in the search for Tim Shovelday. I am your host, Josh Houslander. With me, as always, the almighty producer, the man who makes Sheev Palpatine call him Sir, Adam Hernandez.
Hey, what's up, everybody? You know what? We're going to jump right into it because, well, here in a second, because Aaron Eggemeyer, who was on a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, Empire Media contributor.
Yeah, we're going to be discussing the Mueller hearing, Robert Mueller hearing, big hearing tomorrow, obviously, with the special counsel.
And we can get him on the line right away. So yeah, let's jump right into it.
Yeah, well, we're going to get him. We're going to get him here shortly. He actually called before. We actually got a call from him as we were getting ready to go on, but
yeah, I heard him trying to Skype in while the intro music was going. But
so I'm actually texting him now.
Cool. So yeah, we're gonna get Aaron Eggemeyer on. You guys may remember him from a couple weeks ago. We had him on talking politics and some other things. We actually had him covering the Democratic debates in the past, and we used to have him on a lot to be our hockey guy, but now he's our politics
here
guy.
He is. Oh, you know what?
Did we lose him?
I think we did. Hold on one second.
All right. Yeah. But no, also you guys may remember Aaron from the Majors Live days back in the day when he was our hockey contributor. Brilliant hockey guy. We might have to ask him a quick hockey question or two while we got him on the line. But here tonight, Mueller Report.
Aaron, are you there?
Hey, gentlemen.
Hey, sorry about that, man.
It's technical stuff. I should have just showed up.
You know what? Full disclosure, I actually just pressed the wrong button that second time you tried to call.
But no technical error.
Yeah,
Even
exactly.
the best of podcasters still,
Hey,
press the wrong button every once in a while.
I'm trying. Usually in my world, I guess sometimes the red button means pick it up, and the green button means hang it up. So,
well, this is our first night.
Yeah, this is our first night podcasting. So,
Aaron, what's up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing good. Excited for tomorrow, honestly. I'm really interested to see how both sides kind of handle Robert Mueller. And, he's an expert at doing these congressional hearings. He's been up there, I want to say, probably over 80, 90 times. And so it'll be interesting to see if they can get anything out of him on either side.
Yeah, that's the interesting. Offhand, Aaron, what am I doing? I'm like all over.
Green button picks up.
I'm all
Caller's
over the fucking
Aaron.
place tonight. Aaron, that's going to be the really interesting thing about all of this because, there's going to be nobody in that room who is a more experienced cross-examiner than Robert Mueller. Right? Is this almost a losing battle for both the Republicans and the Democrats when it comes to trying to question this guy? Because arguably you're going up against the best of the best when it comes to lawyers in this country, right?
Well, no, absolutely. I'd say he's probably the most veteran prosecutor the United States has. If there was ever, another type of Nuremberg trials or anything like that, he would be the one that would represent us. Obviously, that's different than being the witness and being questioned by Congress. But again, he's had that experience as an FBI director for almost a decade. So he's definitely going to know his parameters. It'll be interesting to see if he stays within, as he put it, the four corners of the report.
As far as the questioning and the approach that both sides, and when I mean both sides, I'm talking about the Republicans and the Democrats, because obviously there's going to be two obviously different ways that each side is going to approach this. I know Nancy Pelosi and the House Democrats released a 6-page memo today that really kind of took on the look of a political ad rather than an internal memo, which isn't what it was supposed to be. They wanted this to get out. They wanted people to share it. They wanted celebrities to share it in kind of a social media grassroots movement amongst regular people to kind of get the word out there about this, this strategy that the Democrats are going to try to push. And I know Nancy Pelosi, I mean, this is if you're talking about a pivotal hearing tomorrow, it's not only pivotal for Donald Trump and his administration, but this is going to be extremely pivotal for Nancy Pelosi, who's faced a ton of pressure and criticism for those in her own party over her reluctance to not even have an impeachment inquiry into Donald Trump. But it seems like one of the biggest things that Nancy Pelosi is going to try to hammer home tomorrow is the mass chaos that is pretty much engulfed the Trump administration, and they're going to try to frame it. It seems like that chaos is going to be there whether Mueller is there or not. What do you think about that strategy, Aaron, as far as trying to frame it like that?
Well, and I mean, I'm one of the people who I was for having Pelosi as speaker after the elections last year. But I think the most interesting part of I'm one of the very few, yeah. But I mean, I think the most interesting part about it is with how anti-yes impeachment inquiry Pelosi's been, and trying to just let the investigations play out. The two chairmen of these committees, Schiff for Intelligence and Nadler for Judiciary, they're both very pro and vocal about beginning impeachment inquiries.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be interesting to see how the members of both of those committees really act. And I mean, I'm more interested to see how the Republicans try to bring this about to, what happened, and how they've been how did this even begin? What were the origins of this? Why did this begin? And I mean, I'm just really going to be fascinated to see how Mueller shuts them down completely.
Well, it seems like the Republicans, I mean, you see what the Democrats are going to try to do. I mean, every single House Democrat that's probably, or the majority of them, they're going to be questioning Mueller are going to try to use it as a roadmap for themselves and Nancy Pelosi to bring about impeachment hearings against Donald Trump. I get that. For the Republicans, it seems like they have a very difficult line to walk themselves, because they're going to be trying to do two very different things at the same time. And what I mean by that is it seems like they're going to try to, in some ways, discredit Mueller, but also support his findings in that there was no evidence to support collusion between the Donald Trump campaign and the Russian government.
Oh, absolutely, and that's the tightrope they've been kind of walking this entire time. Is Mueller clearly points out that he didn't find enough evidence to make any type of criminal charges for conspiracy of collusion with the Russian or any foreign government, with the Trump campaign or any of the individuals in it. But so while they praise that on the one hand, they definitely then try to constantly not only demean but discredit every piece of evidence he has then for the second volume, which is the obstruction, where he lays out almost 10 different acts that could be argued as criminal obstruction of justice.
Yeah, and that's what I always kind of thought from the very beginning, Aaron, that Donald Trump, I mean, the Russian thing, I mean, it seemed like that kind of, it lost its legs the more that things went on. Now, I don't...
Well, let's still be fair. He couldn't find evidence to conclusively bring charges of conspiracy.
Correct.
That doesn't mean there wasn't massive amounts of evidence of people actually confronting and working with Russian individuals.
Correct.
That are on behalf of the Russian government. There are over 150 different contacts laid out in the first volume.
I always thought, though, the biggest problem, though, for Donald Trump wasn't so much the Russian thing. It was going to be the obstruction of justice charges against him, or the allegations against him. Just because, for as naive,
just because he admitted it live on TV.
Exactly. I mean, in that interview with Lester Holt, that's what he pretty much said. The reason why he fired James Comey is because of the Russian investigation. And I, for one, I think that Donald Trump, in some ways, is extremely naive. That he just didn't maybe know what the parameters were around this whole thing. I don't think he knew that if he fires this guy or tries to influence this guy, that obstruction of justice could eventually be brought against him. And that's why I believe that, ultimately speaking, that the obstruction of justice was going to be the biggest problem for him, and not so much the collusion thing with Russia.
Oh, I absolutely agree with you. I mean, especially on the he didn't know. That's why the majority of his argument against any of it, besides no collusion, no obstruction, has been that you can't obstruct if there's no underlying crime, which is just patently false and ridiculous, because that's not how the law works at all. But that's why that's his main excuse. And people buy along with it because on some level that makes sense as to, well, of course someone's going to try and, defend their good honor and their good name when they're being slandered. But that's not how actually obstruction of an investigation works.
And that's how it works with common people too. I mean, yourself or myself or Josh, if we claim that we didn't know some law was in existence, I mean, that's not going to matter a whole lot if we are brought forth in front of a judge. I mean,
anyone that's ever tried to fight a speeding ticket's been told that ignorance of the law is no excuse.
No.
So, I mean, that goes without saying for sure.
Yeah.
Unless you're Don Jr., apparently.
Well,
unless you're anybody with a few bucks in your pocket.
That's exactly it, is that argument that you can't obstruct if there's no underlying crime that's provable is insane, because if you're being brought up on charges of murder, then there would be no reason whatsoever for you not to attempt to intimidate witnesses, bribe officials, or destroy evidence. Because then there's no punishment if you do get rid of the evidence that proves you committed this crime.
Isn't it a bit kind of two-faced, though? I mean, if we're being totally real, to say that, to say these things, but at the same time to say, well, we can't prove that there was any collusion, but that doesn't mean there wasn't any. I mean, if we're speaking from the perspective of the law, then if we are still looking into obstruction, then we have to acknowledge that there was no collusion.
And that's why Mueller specifically lays that out in the beginning of the first volume, is he says, while we cannot actually prove any crimes or malfeasance was committed, we can't prove there wasn't any wrongdoing committed either. We can't absolve the president that he didn't commit any crimes, but we can't prove that he actually did with the evidence we have.
And that's something that it seems like William Barr was very adamant about leaving out from his original memo, announcing the results of the Mueller report. That, I mean, it was very, very convenient that that none of that was mentioned, and we only really heard about those 10 points when Rod Rosenstein was up there, and all of that was being more so fully discussed than prior.
Absolutely, and that's why tomorrow's, I think, is, I hope that, I know a lot of people obviously have work and won't be able to sit and watch the entire thing. I took the day off, but, I mean, I I really hope that on all the national news and everything later that night, that's all that they play is parts of this, because a lot of people just don't know enough about this. And, I mean, it's arguably the biggest investigation we've had on a governmental level since Watergate. And it's a huge deal. And, I mean, even if all they get Mueller to do is just recite from the report itself, having those broadcast and told to the American people is important, because, I mean, in my belief, crimes were committed. And I don't know why Mueller didn't put forth a charging recommendation, I mean, at all, because I understand there's the DOJ memo of indictment and prosecution against the president. I understand that's the guideline and everything, but he was appointed to be the special prosecutor. And as a prosecutor, you can't just say, oh, well, these are the crimes that we discovered, and here's the evidence supporting them, but we're not going to recommend anything. And I do understand the Constitution and why he said, you know, this is up to Congress now. And he left it specifically for them, and he said that during his press conference. But the fact is, he has to recognize now that Congress is obviously a little broken, and this whole situation is extraordinary circumstances that he needs to speak out.
Do you think that things would have been different if Robert Mueller was an independent counsel instead of a special counsel appointed by the Department of Justice? Because wasn't Ken Starr an independent counsel when he was investigating Bill Clinton?
They're kind of basically the same thing. You know, all that really means is you're appointed by the DOJ, but you won't be controlled by the DOJ.
Okay.
And so that you can investigate, you know, the executive branch and any malfeasance that's happened there without any interference, supposedly, from the executive. So while it could be different, I mean, I think that the whole handling in, especially William Barr's, just in my mind, insane stepping in and how he handled the report before it was released publicly. It butchered. It was a disservice to the American public. It was a disservice to the 22 months we spent, you know, having this slow drip and honestly quite leak-proof from the special counsel's office itself that Congress didn't immediately subpoena him and all of his deputies immediately after the report was released to have a full report and accounting given to them.
As far as the questioning goes tomorrow, Aaron, New York Times op-ed writer Neil Katyal, who is the acting Solicitor General under President Obama, is looking for these three questions to be addressed tomorrow. And first, did your report find that there was no collusion? Second, did your report find that there was no obstruction? Third, did your report give the president complete and total exoneration? Now, those are pretty direct questions, and it would seem like they're very obvious questions. Obviously, you want to get Robert Mueller to say more than what was initially outlined in the report itself. But I guess offhand, do you think that those are viable questions? Do you think that Mueller is going to elaborate maybe on some of his findings in what was ultimately written in the report? And what questions would you ask Mueller if you were given the opportunity?
Yeah, overall, I mean, I think those are good questions. The biggest thing to go with Mueller is, in my mind, his reasonings behind some of his language in the report.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, like, the biggest one is going to be, why did you follow the OLC, the DOJ guidelines that you could not recommend any type of prosecution? We've had already, I think it was 1,000 former prosecutors signed a letter after the report came out saying that if anyone else had committed these types of obstruction counts, they would have been charged and convicted with no problems. So, I mean, especially then, I would be asking him, you know, why didn't you push to have the president subpoenaed? that was a big one for me. I mean, the responses he gave in the written testimony for especially the collusion part only, that's insane. That you have provable obstruction charges that you laid out in the second volume of your report. You let the actual defendant not respond to them. And to me, that just was insane. I would ask also why he didn't subpoena Don Jr. For his parts, especially with the Russia meeting or the meeting at Trump Tower. Mm-hmm. That then, he was proven to have lied in front of Congress about. So, I mean, there's a lot of little things about that. I would ask him what he thinks about the presidency and the executive branch claiming privilege over subpoenas from Congress over people like Don McGahn, why he would, if he thinks there's any legal recourse behind that type of basically flaunting of a congressional subpoena. But, I mean, those are things I also don't think Mueller will answer. He said in his presser that he wasn't going to answer anything. Everything he would say and would say on the record is in the report. So that's where Democrats are really going to have a problem of getting him to go outside of the lines at all. And if they can't, they're probably just going to have to rely on him actually reading the specific parts of the report that should open up impeachment inquiries.
And I want to get to that too, and just more so on the impeachment inquiries, before we finish up tonight. But one of the bigger news stories today regarding what's happening tomorrow, Aaron, was Mueller requesting that his top deputy be sworn in as well to answer questions on his behalf. What did you make of that? And is that potentially an open door possibly for lawmakers to get more out of this hearing tomorrow than just Mueller, reading what was actually in the report?
I definitely think that it's a good thing that he's requesting more of his deputies come to light. I remember when they originally scheduled his testimony, they were going to have two separate testimonials, one with Mueller and then a closed session with his deputies to go over the actual further classified parts of the report. So I think it's definitely good that he's trying to bring other people into it, so we're not seeing just his one side, and I think that is almost kind of a rebuke to maybe some of the Republicans trying to maybe just bring him in and get him to maybe not answer their maybe questions about why it began, and people like Peter Strzok and Lisa Page and all that kind of bullshit controversy they try to bring up to discredit him. So I do think it's a better idea, but again, I just do question how much they'll be able to get out of Mueller in general.
Yeah, that's why I'm kind of initially thinking that if he wants his deputy there, then I don't know. To me, it just seems like he's willing to open up in some way about this report, but not necessarily through himself, but through his deputy. So I don't know. We'll have to see what happens with that. I thought that was an interesting factor, an interesting request from Robert Mueller himself. But again, we'll just have to wait and see. As far as
and that's one thing I honestly wish. I wish Democrats would have gone the same route that Republicans did during the Kavanaugh hearings. Mm-hmm. If you remember, during the Kavanaugh questioning after Christine Blasey Ford came out, they had a single lawyer asking all the questions for the Republicans.
Yeah.
And that just kind of cohesively brings together everyone so they can pick up where they left off, and you're not getting all these different questions coming in from different areas that might overlap or waste time going over rehashing the same point. And it would have, I think, been a lot smarter for Democrats to have brought someone like that in, because it would have just really streamlined their actual process in getting their questions across better.
Interesting. Certainly a good point. As far as impeachment goes, though, we mentioned this earlier. Obviously, this is what This is what this hearing pretty much is all about, in my opinion, at least, is whether or not Democrats are going to be able to further justify any case for impeachment. And I'm under the impression, too, that whatever happens tomorrow, I don't think that it's going to quell any of the attempts by Democrats to try to push for impeachment. I think it's only going to make the situation stronger for them. Despite what happens. And like I said, I think Nancy Pelosi is going to be under even more pressure after tomorrow to at least start an inquiry into it. But, Aaron, is Nancy Pelosi trying to walk that fine line herself when it comes to maybe doing what's right and trying to maintain and keep the Democrats in the best possible position when it comes to the 2020 election?
I don't think she's trying to walk a line. I think she fully believes that Trump is the better opponent for a Democratic 2020 ballot. And I think that's wrong, personally, but I see why she's coming down on that line. Personally, I believe that, all of these representatives swore an oath to uphold the Constitution. And in my reading of the Constitution, there's no optional, only do impeachment of a president if it's politically convenient or if the Senate will convict. Mm-hmm. In my reading, it's, if a president is suspected or there are provable instances of high crimes and misdemeanors, you begin impeachment proceedings. And, whether or not that's politically convenient or popular, all you have to do is look back to Watergate. When Watergate began, impeachment proceedings began. Polling was very low to impeach Richard Nixon. As time went on, and people began seeing this night after night after night, what was going on in the crimes that were being uncovered, that the polling went up incredibly, up to about 60% by, I think, August of that year. So, the thing is that problematic is, and why I think tomorrow the biggest thing Democrats can do is just get Mueller to read the crimes that he uncovered, is people understanding the implications of this. And that if they can get people to do that, which they butchered when, brilliantly, I guess, William Barr came out and undercut the entire announcement of the report, is getting people to understand that there are provable instances of obstruction of justice. Mm-hmm. And, that is a crime. And it's a federal crime. If you can get Robert Mueller to just say, is obstruction of justice a federal crime? Yes or no? Yes. Do you believe that that falls under high crimes and misdemeanors under the Constitution? Yes. Boom. You instantly have a majority of people now learning the president committed a crime.
Mm-hmm.
But let's be honest, though, Aaron. We both know, or we all know, that the only true definition of what is impeachable, what is an impeachable offense by the president, is what 51% of Congress says it is. And that's it. The high crimes and misdemeanors is basically the only thing the Constitution gives us to get this. So if you can say something is potentially a high crime or misdemeanor, which you pretty much always can, that's really the only standard bearer in the Constitution, is what 51% of Congress says it is. So if 51% of Congress says something's impeachable, it's impeachable.
Yeah, and then do 51% or do 51 members of the Senate believe that that's removal from office offense? And
need 60.
Obviously, it's probably not going to happen with this Senate. But again, in my mind, that's no reason not to begin hearings and inquiries on it and have actual testimony be brought forth and required by judicial decree of subpoenas. Because then you're forcing these senators to put their name next to lawbreakers. And for me, that's more important than whether or not Trump gets removed from office. Because, again, no matter what, I think in 2020 he's gone. We went over this last time I was on. But the point is then you're getting senators to say, no, I'm okay that this president committed these crimes, and I endorse that he should remain in the highest office of our country after committing these crimes.
So then it becomes a political issue for those senators on the ground when they're seeking re-election too. And I know, and I think that's a good point that you make, Josh. And I think it's a good follow-up that you make too, Aaron, considering that I think we have to have this discussion at least at some point down the road, whether it's on XCast or whether it's on Politics of the Empire. And what I'm talking about are how the Senate is constructed. What amendment is that? That the Senate is elected by the people? Is that an amendment to the
19th Amendment?
19th Amendment?
Right, I'm right about that, right, Aaron?
Yeah, direct election.
Yeah, I mean, whether or not, the Senate should still be elected by the people, because, and I'm not saying they should or shouldn't.
Oh, there's a big argument against it, yeah. We should elect our representatives for the state, and then the state should elect the senators.
How the Constitution says it is.
Yeah,
really.
Because
before it's the only amendment I opposed.
Because in this sense right here, that's where you run into that problem, because you have to think to yourself, how many senators out there, how many Republican, in some cases Democratic senators, would vote for impeachment or vote for removal from office if they weren't beholden to their constituents, if they didn't have to worry about re-election when their 6 years were up.
And if you believe in democracy, you should believe that they should be beholden to their constituents, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But this is an argument for why, that constituency shouldn't be so direct.
Yes. But maybe we'll get to that later on down the road, because I think it's a conversation worth having, and it's something that very well could directly impact how this is handled from here on out. And same thing goes for the last one of these that we've had in this country, and that's the Bill Clinton impeachment. I mean, Bill Clinton was actually impeached from office, but wasn't. Well, he was impeached, but he wasn't removed from office by the Senate.
And in American history, we know that 2 presidents have been impeached. No president has ever been removed from office.
Yep.
And a lot of people like to make the historical or political assumption that Richard Nixon would have been had he not resigned. But truth is, there's no facts to back that up. We have no idea.
We would never,
if Richard Nixon would have been removed from office. And if history is telling it all, it shows that he probably wouldn't actually have been, but that's an opinion-based argument, really. No one can ever know that. He wasn't even impeached, let alone removed.
Aaron, one last thing from myself before we let you go tonight. What was the you've read the Mueller report from cover to cover. What was in your opinion, what was the single biggest factoid within that large document that you read yourself that was the most compelling, the most interesting that you saw? I mean, can you point to one specific? I have a feeling it's going to come from the second part of it, but what do you think?
Well, and if I had to, there's 2 that come to mind, obviously. One of them is, obviously the multiple obstruction parts that Mueller lays out, and as a legal mind, seeing him lay out, the 3 acts that constitute an obstruction of justice charge. Just seeing its obstructive act, the nexus of the act, and then the intent of the act. So, seeing him lay those out on each key charge, which again, there's almost, I think, 10 that he lays out, and I think there's 4 that are concretely provable in a court of law. Mm-hmm. But for me, that's not even the most amazing part. For me, it was reading the responses from Donald Trump himself. And he only said he would reply to the collusion aspects of the report and the investigation, and for all he talks about having, the greatest memory and the biggest brain and being the smartest president to ever hold the office, just reading his words specifically, and I mean, he's gone on record saying, I mean, whatever, you take that, I guess, with a grain of salt, but he said that he wrote this without any help from his lawyers, and he did it all by himself. And I mean, seeing him reply to these very tricky legal questions, just with everyone basically beginning, I do not recall, I have no independent recollection, I have no recollection of being told. I mean, just seeing the answers to those questions laid out, to me, was the most interesting part of the read.
Mm-hmm.
And you can find them all very quickly too. If any of the listeners or you guys want to see them, just pull up the full Mueller report. Go to the very, very bottom of it. It is Appendix C, is where the Donald Trump interview questions are laid out and answered in full.
And you could actually find a copy of the Mueller report on our website, thenprmedia.com. Just go and search for it. It is there. Josh, I know you had one more thing. Go ahead.
Yeah, Aaron, by the way, thanks for really in-depth analysis. It's been
my
very
pleasure. Anytime. I love to talk about this stuff, and like I said, I mean, I just hope tomorrow we get some answers. I hope everyone gets to see at least a little bit of just what's going to be, in my mind, the most important congressional testimony of all of our lifetimes, I'd say.
Oh, I'm glad you said that, because that is actually what my question is about. And my question is very simple, and that's just saying, why does this matter? Why does this matter to Joe or Sally American out there? Because, I mean, Aaron, you're a partisan, a very well-informed and educated partisan, but you are a partisan, and you're taking the day off tomorrow, and that's great. I thought that was awesome when I heard that you're taking the day off tomorrow to.
If you guys want, I'll
watch
live tweet it on Twitter for you guys.
But.
May take you up on that.
And I know you'll be watching the coverage later that evening. But I'm not going to take the day off tomorrow. And I'm probably not going to see much of it till later. But and tell me if I'm wrong here. But I can already tell you what the news coverage is going to be tomorrow. If you turn on the liberal stations, you're going to hear that Donald Trump is done. And regardless of what Mueller says beforehand, we already know they're going to say that he's done. This was the nail in the coffin. It's totally impeachable, and oh my God, can you believe our president did this? And if you turn on a conservative station, you're going to say, that's it. That proved it. Donald Trump did nothing wrong. Everything's fine. You heard it here first. You saw it right from Robert Mueller's lips. Nothing wrong here. Nothing to see. There is nothing happened. I mean, am I wrong about that? I mean, what is the thing that he can say that the Republicans or the Democrats can really latch on to tomorrow to have this matter? More so than it has in months past.
No, and that's a phenomenal point. And I mean, to preface it before I say, I don't believe Fox is even going to have it live. I don't think they're going to have the actual hearings live. But regardless of that, I mean, for me, the one thing that Robert Mueller could say is the President of the United States committed a crime. Bar none. That instantly that should be a shock to everyone, because in our country, we were built upon the ideal of, and why we left the monarch system in general, was no one is above the law. And that, if we allow a president to commit crimes, no matter how small, how non-consequential they are, and I mean, you can make this argument on past presidents, and I can too. Bill Clinton, I'll fully admit, he lied under oath. For Barack Obama, I believe that, he committed some very sketchy things in terms of the drone programs and spying on American citizens. I had no problem calling out past Democrat presidents, any president, because I do believe that at the very base foundation of our system, we're supposed to hold everyone accountable, no matter your prestige, no matter your position, no matter your economic influence, anything, is that we are supposed to hold everyone to the same account of the system we built. And I mean, and for me personally, I think that obstruction is one of the ones that really undercuts that foundation of a judicial system, because you're trying to stop justice from being investigated or put into a court of law. And so obstruction for me is one of the worst crimes I think that anyone can commit, because you're trying to undercut our entire system of beliefs. So roundabout way again, for me, the biggest thing he could say is, yes, we found evidence that is provable in a court of law the president committed a crime.
Excellent answer, excellent points. Quick follow-up to that. Do you think there is an aspect of this, because we all know that Congress is kind of a good old boys club, do you think there's an aspect of this that this is just a little payback for Clinton? Like, we're going to get our impeachment in, and he won't get removed either, but, like, little payback, reminder that we can do it too?
I mean, I do and I don't. If it had been any other president, I do think that, yes, that would be a valid point and argument. You know, if it was Jeb Bush or Ted Cruz or Marco Rubio that had actually won the nomination and won the presidency, I do think that argument can be made. But, I mean, with just who Donald Trump is and his past history of not only breaking the law but just flaunting it completely, I do think that there's a more existential point we're reaching in American society. And I mean, you could even say it like with the Jeffrey Epstein stuff, with all that stuff, Me Too and Kevin Spacey and all, you know, we're reaching the point where I think Americans are just sick and tired of seeing people not treated as they would be. If I was in contempt of Congress and I lied to Congress and they had proof of it, I wouldn't be able to still walk around with a subpoena or ignoring a contempt of Congress charge.
None of us
I'd be
would.
in jail.
Yeah, none of us would.
Yeah, we'd be in jail. We wouldn't be worried about months long where they're going through the courts about getting fines. We'd all be sitting in a prison. I mean, you know, say what you will, but similar to Chelsea Manning, we wouldn't be able to just wait until a judge or Supreme Court decides if what we're doing is right or wrong. We'd be sitting in a jail cell.
Absolutely.
And
I mean, and
I
that's,
think a lot of people are getting tired of that double standard being applied.
and it does, and
Yeah.
that one,
Absolutely.
that one's it's not a partisan thing necessarily. It's a money and power thing. I mean, anyone that's ever rolled through a stop sign when they're 10 days late on paying a speeding ticket knows that you don't get that kind of leeway. You're in trouble.
No, and I think Aaron, when you just brought up the Jeffrey Epstein thing just now, if no one in this country thinks that the upper class, the elites in the United States don't get special privileges, whether it be a billionaire like Jeffrey Epstein or a billionaire like Donald Trump, who happened to, find himself president of the United States, or even like Bill Clinton, if you want to look at
Absolutely.
people on the left. The Jeffrey
Anthony Weiner.
Yeah, Anthony Weiner.
Hillary Clinton, any of them.
Yeah, the Jeffrey Epstein thing was it was atrocious. What happened? I mean, the guy should have went to jail for the rest of his life back in the early 2000s. And what did he get? He got a slap on the wrist and a ticket to a federal country club, essentially, where he got to
You got to leave daily.
Yeah, got to leave daily, still allegedly commit crimes while he was at his office. And the only thing he had to do was sleep at jail. That's the only thing he had to do.
If Jeffrey Epstein was a normal person, he'd have been shivved in a dirty jail cell by now.
Yeah,
He
probably.
wouldn't be alive.
No.
He wouldn't be alive.
Or even Paul Manafort as well.
And
Or Roger Stone right now.
Yeah.
I mean, can you imagine if any of us had flaunted a judge's gag order multiple times?
Yeah, we would. Yeah.
And Aaron, I wish you were in studio with us too, because the next topic we're actually going to kind of segue into that a little bit as well. With this Epstein.
I'll be listening, so don't worry.
Aaron, when are you coming out? You coming on again in 2 weeks to recap the next Democratic debate?
Yeah, that sounds right. It's not this week, but next week will be the debates, and I'm excited. I wish I
That
could
for
get down
Politics
in
of the
there.
Empire?
No, that'll be XCast.
2 weeks from now is Deep Issues. Right? Yeah.
Well, maybe it will be. Well,
We could do it on PoE though.
yeah,
if
we
you
can.
wanted.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah,
But we'll have Aaron
Well, I
back
didn't know if
in.
you're going to do a show without me next week.
When is the debate? It's Thursday? When is the debate, Aaron?
Tuesday and Wednesday, I believe.
Tuesday and Wednesday.
Last week of the month, yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, it would be the following week.
Okay.
So, yeah. So we'll see Aaron again in 2 weeks.
Cool. For Politics of the Empire or for something along those lines.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll just be a special edition of Aaron Eggemeyer with the XCast or something.
Yeah. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Aaron, thanks for coming on tonight. We'll talk to you later, all right, man?
All right, guys. You have a good night, and
Yeah,
I'll
thank
keep
you, man.
listening.
You have fun tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
See you, dude.
Get the popcorn ready.
Oh man, Aaron's all in tomorrow.
Yes, he is.
That's like his Super Bowl, man.
It really is. It really is.
I
He
wonder
is.
if he's got like squares set up. I should have asked him, but you know.
Oh, he should. It kind of makes me want to, also take the day off and go hang out with Aaron tomorrow.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's like he needs like all silence.
You know what? I bet he's gonna be like me though with the
You
with the
watching
Super.
the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's not gonna be like Mueller hearing party. He's going to be. I mean, he's probably gonna get some. He's probably gonna get some food.
Yeah.
Sit there, kind of spread out a little bit, and not to be bothered. Maybe turn his phone off.
Yeah, it might be like like get some popcorn, some punch and candy, and then once maybe switch to Coors Light when the CNN's part rolls in, and have a little make it like a whole 20-hour thing of it.
Oh man, I should have. Aaron, if I know you're listening, right? Text in if you are making squares up, because maybe I want to get in on this.
I'm down for. I'm in for 10.
You're in for 10.
Yeah. If you're doing it, Aaron, yeah, text into the show.
Oh man.
But hey, looks like the government's got a lot to worry about with this Mueller report and everything. But I don't know why they'd be focusing their time worrying about that, because we're right in Area 51 on September 20th.
Is that what you wanted Aaron to...
Yes, because I'm going to segue into something.
That was the
this.
segue.
No, but there's going to be a segue from the segue.
I was thinking to myself, I'm like, Aaron's probably thinking, he's like, oh God, thank God they hung up with me now.
No, I'm gonna pop into it, but seriously, I mean, we're all right in Area 51 on September 20th, so
yeah.
The government has bigger fish to fry than what Robert Mueller's got to say.
So are you saying the Mueller hearing is a distraction?
That is what I'm gonna say. Okay, September 20th, Area 51, right? It's all going in. Is this just a big psyop? This Area 51 thing? Is this just a distraction from Mueller, Epstein, whatever the hell's going on in Iran? Because I was all on board with the Area 51 memes. They were cracking me up, and I no apologies for it, regardless of where it stems from. I think the memes are hilarious, and I'm gonna keep sharing them, But seriously, is this just a big psyop? This Area 51 thing, because that was like the number one thing on Twitter when, this Mueller report's happening today, and Jeffrey Epstein really should be the top news story right now, and well, at least over the Area 51 raid.
Aaron says, "Bring some Scotch Josh, and I'll set up squares in a drinking game."
Oh God, that could get ugly fast, real ugly, real fast.
All of a sudden, drunk Aaron and drunk Josh start getting into politics.
Oh God, that could be rough. That could be rough. Man, glad that's not happening. But I mean, really, man, this Jeffrey Epstein thing, and people, when some people say, "Oh, why aren't they covering this?" Others come in and say, "Oh, of course they're covering it. It's been, a top news story." But why aren't they covering what should be covered, like what we just said?
Are you saying it's even bigger conspiracy, considering that, the people who could be exposed in this?
Yeah, I do think that. I mean, it cracks me up that you have Republicans talking about like, oh, we can't see what Epstein has to say because he's going to expose the Clintons. and the Democrats are saying, we can't see what Epstein has to say because he's going to expose Trump. It's like,
He's going to expose both of them.
Why not both? Said the little Mexican girl with the balloons. I mean, seriously. Like, actually, Bill Clinton and Donald Trump not only were both on Jeffrey Epstein's little party jet, they were on it at the same time, it looks like, at one point. I mean, this is a big deal.
Yeah, I wouldn't be thrilled about what could come out if I'm Donald Trump or Bill Clinton, for that matter. But yeah, I mean, and you know what? I think this is a discussion that I actually had with Aaron through text a week or so ago. That if you're looking at this from somebody on the left, like myself and Aaron are, fuck, if Bill Clinton did something wrong, if he was implicated in any of this, then yeah, fucking throw him in jail. I don't care. And I, for one, and I'm not a fan of Bill Clinton. I'm not a fan of Hillary Clinton.
I don't think that many people are.
No, I mean, yeah, throw Bill Clinton in jail if he was involved in this sort of thing. Anybody.
Yeah.
Anybody. This isn't a partisan thing, and this is the most annoying thing probably about this, because I mean, Josh, you and I are in those Facebook groups, those political Facebook groups, and people just trying to turn this into some partisan issue of, oh, well, Bill Clinton or, oh, well, Donald Trump. It's who cares?
Yeah,
something
and
I'll
like this. Include those two and many more.
Yeah,
listen, with what we know Epstein did, if you flew on Epstein's plane one time ever, I want to hear your story, and I want to hear it now.
Yeah.
I want to know what you knew, what you didn't know, why you didn't say anything at the time. I want to know everything. I want to know who these people are that were flying on his jet.
Exactly.
And did 100% of the people that ever flew on one of Epstein's jets know that? I'm not saying that necessarily, but I want to hear from them.
Yeah.
I want to hear from every single one of those people. Yes, Bill Clinton. Yes, Donald Trump. Yes, every single one. All the
Woody
way down.
Allen.
Yes, everybody.
Prince Andrew.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, the royal family for sure is in on it. I mean, it's like Woody Allen. It's like, well, geez, Woody Allen, we already know you're into that stuff.
Yeah.
We do. We already know that. But you made funny movies. Actually, did he? No, actually, Woody Allen's movies suck. but whatever. Somebody liked them. So they're...
Well, that's just another example of what we're talking about earlier,
Right.
as far as that privilege goes amongst the
Do you know what the really damning question I want to ask to everyone in the world, or especially to you working to middle class people out there like me and Adam and Aaron and the vast majority of the world, actually, basically
anyone who's involved with what we do.
Yeah, and anybody who's just a normal person.
Yep, I know.
Your everyday person walking around. Here is the really damning question. We all know what Jeffrey Epstein did. We all know that what he's going to face the music to some degree here, one way or another. But here's the deal. Would you trade lives with Jeffrey Epstein right now?
Fuck no.
I would.
You would?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Despite all this, he is still going to live a better life than 99% of the people on planet Earth. Even after all this. Now, I'm not saying you get to... I can't control one's psyche. I'm not saying that you have to then have the... Hell, I'm not even assuming his innocence or guilt. I am simply raising the question that... I mean, you're not going to have to go through the guilt. I can't put your good human mind in the mind of a monster. You know, that's not what I'm saying necessarily. I'm not saying you're going to do this and then, oh my God, what did I do? And now you feel the guilt for this. No. You get to switch spots with Jeffrey Epstein right now. So you get to live the life of a kind of sheltered, shunned billionaire. Yeah, I'll take it. I will switch lives with Epstein right this second. Because he is still going to live a better life than 99.9% of the human beings that have ever lived on planet Earth.
think he's going to get off this in this instance, though. I think it's too out in the open. I think Epstein's actually going to get rolled this time.
What it sounds like from what I've read, and I could be wrong. Maybe he'll end up going to real jail. The jail that you and me would go to.
Not the resort.
Yeah, not the resort
federal
jail.
resort, yeah.
Not the thing where you maybe got to go sleep there, but then can park your Ferrari in the parking lot and drive home afterwards.
It gets optimal security in a federal.
It's looking to me like he is going to all they're really going for is he's going to have to be a registered sex offender.
He already is, though.
Yeah, he already is.
Uh-huh.
He already is. Which, again, I don't want to be that person, and I certainly don't deserve to be that person, but there's worse fates. That really sucks if you're moving into an apartment building or moving into a trailer park or moving into a small neighborhood like the vast majority of us live, but you have to register and then go live in your walled off castle. Who cares? Who cares, really? It's really not that big a deal. But it looks like he's going to have to continue up his registry. He's going to maybe do some jail time, and that he is going to have to, fines, of course, and that he'll have to do some sort of house arrest. Which house arrest at his place would be pretty gnarly. So I don't know, man. I will be really surprised if 3 years from right now he is living anything but a somewhat atypical billionaire's life.
I'm actually under the impression that, like I said, he's going to get rolled in this sense, just because I think the justice system's embarrassed. I think it's embarrassed for what happened. I mean, you had a judge come out back in February and say that the sweetheart deal that was given to him back in, what was it, 2007?
Something like that,
I believe.
Over 10 years ago.
Yeah, was illegal. I think, and I believe the judge now has said that deal and what happened then is going to have no bearing on. That deal is going to have no bearing on what happens to him this time around. I'm sure his lawyers are going to try to argue double jeopardy and so on and so forth. But I really do. I think Jeffrey Epstein is probably going to face some pretty harsh. I don't want to say harsh, but stiff consequences after what is, quote unquote, allegedly happened. And that is, that's more so, like I said, just because of the legal system, being embarrassed over what happened. Not to say that I don't know. I think in some ways, though, that's worse because, it takes the legal system to be embarrassed in order for them to make the right move. Because you figure, too, how many girls would have been spared if he was actually thrown in jail?
Oh, sure.
Back when he was supposed to be thrown in jail as opposed to, having what happened to him happen. So.
Right. Listen to me, and again, call me a conspiracy theorist if you want. I don't care if people call me that at this point in my life. But to me, we'll know one way or another.
Yeah, we will.
We'll know sooner or later because Jeffrey Epstein, quite frankly, just has too much dirt on too many people.
And that's
why I think he's gonna walk. And if it's looking like he's not gonna walk, we'll all know because he'll end up suiciding himself here any day now. And he's gonna commit suicide by falling down an abandoned elevator shaft or shooting himself 4 times in the back or something along those lines.
I hear what you're saying, Josh, and there are a lot of different strings to this, considering the status that Jeffrey Epstein had in that circle.
Sure. Because seriously, if he goes to regular person jail, then he'll sing like a bird. And because as far as I know, Jeffrey Epstein is quite the monster. as an individual, and I don't think there's somebody he cares about out there in this world. So I don't think he has anything to protect other than himself and his money. If you take away his lifestyle truly, then we're gonna hear some stories.
Well, yeah,
and
I mean,
people aren't gonna let that happen.
Well, that's the thing
They're
is if this thing goes to trial, which it seems like it probably will, then yeah, I mean, get your popcorn ready because this is, I mean,
and that's why I think it won't happen. He's gonna get a sweetheart deal, one way or another. He's gonna get the deal. There's no way this guy ends up in regular person jail.
I'm sure he's going to, whatever happens, if he does go to jail, he's not going to be in there under the same circumstance that a regular person would.
He's going to Club Fed.
He's going to have, he's going to have protection in there, obviously being a high profile inmate, but who knows, Josh? I mean, I think that you bring up some very interesting notions that, based on his status, based on, who he knows and what potential dirt he may have on them, that, yeah, I mean, all things are possible in this sense. I just think given what has happened before, I think the optics of the Justice Department and the justice system in that sense could be devastating for them. So,
and again, I hope I'm wrong about this. And that's why I asked the question of, would you switch, to anyone? Would you switch lives with Jeffrey Epstein and take the chance right now? Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of right-minded people would, myself included. To me, and I would bet money on this, not that I have a bunch of money to bet, but 150 weeks from right now, I bet Jeffrey Epstein's living a better life than the vast majority of people on planet Earth.
Bottom line, too, though.
Smack down a couple notches? Probably, but what's a couple notches for a multi-billionaire? A couple notches is still 3 dozen notches above your boss, whoever your boss may be, for those people listening,
Bottom line, too, I mean, this is something that that people need to start advocating about and getting vocal about is shit like this. Because it stretches. I mean, Aaron talked about it too with his at the end of our segment with him when you asked him why is this important, and he and I thought it was a great response.
Yeah,
what he said, people in high positions in this country and really throughout the world being above the law, and is anything truly going to change? Because it shouldn't take the justice system making one wrong move to begin with in order for them to correct themselves 10 years later. I mean, it should happen right then and there.
Yeah.
And perhaps the only way something like this truly changes is if there is somewhat of a revolution on the streets.
Yeah. And you need you need accountability, and you need to see some people go down. You need some people to be made examples of. And what better person than him? Because you know what, quite frankly, Adam, as a regular dude out here, I don't care that much that rich people get perks that we don't get. But it should be a level playing field when you're talking about crimes this heinous. That's something I truly believe. When you're talking about crimes this grotesque, this heinous, this evil, I'll go ahead and use that word, there should at least be a level playing field on that. I don't actually care if rich people get away with more on their taxes. I don't really care if they do little things and that they know they can get around. Like, quite frankly, and not that I'm even a fan of hers, but when Martha Stewart got in trouble for her insider trading, I was actually thinking, like, this is crap. Who cares? Who cares? It's people with money stealing money from other people with money.
She does stuff with Snoop Dogg now.
Yeah, I mean, and that's, like, I was like, really? Come on. Like, who cares? I don't, that's a money crime. But this is something very different. I don't care if the billionaires and millionaires of the world get special treatment because they can hire the right attorneys and hire the right things for these white-collar crimes. But when you're talking about really, truly heinous and grotesque and disgusting crimes, there should be a level playing field, and this guy should be going to the same damn jail that the rest of us would.
Aaron weighed in here. Only deal that will come to Epstein from prosecutors under the public scrutiny will be if he supplies bigger fish and clients. But yeah, he won't be in general population, same as Manafort or any other high-profile convict. So.
He won't do it though. I mean, he's not going to supply those names.
Well, you know what?
It's not going to happen.
We'll see.
He'll commit suicide if he does.
We'll see. We'll see.
Suicide in air quotes.
We'll see if when it potentially gets to that point. So, anything on Area 51 though? Anything else?
No, just I think it's. I mean, I think we should be there. I mean, it's happening September 20th, so I'm thinking. I mean, we're going, right? Yes. I'm thinking. And we're a news organization, so
quote unquote.
So I'm thinking Empire Media is gonna have to maybe just get off their wallet a little bit. They can send me. I'll go. I'll be the guy. So Empire Media, you're gonna have to flip the bill a little bit. We'll go out there. I don't need 5-star. Okay, I don't need 5-star stuff.
Motel 6 would be good enough.
Yeah, Motel 6 is fine. Oh, at Motel 8. I mean, I'd like cable, but a microwave would be nice. But if Motel 6 is all Empire Media can afford right now, I get that. So Empire Media sends me out there, flip the bill. I'll get some on-site interviews with some of the people. I'll stick around afterwards for when they escape with some of the aliens, so I can interview. I can interview E.T. and Joe Schmo who just liberated him. This is a deal, right? I mean, Empire Media can send me out there. Yeah, and I'll drive.
You'll be right there next to Wolf Blitzer and Jake Tapper.
I don't need to fly first class. I'll drive. I'll need a gas card from, corporate gas card from Empire Media, of course. So just flip the bill. I'll cover the event, and this is gonna be great. Yeah, it's gonna be cool. We'll get on-site interviews with all the geniuses who are about to
storm one of the most secretive and probably heavily fortified bases in the world.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be there.
Yeah. I'll bring my son Alex so he can come.
Yeah.
Actually, I won't. He's too young. No, Alex. Sorry. I'd like to, but you're just not ready for this mission. But yeah, so that's a deal. So you can catch us. We'll do some live stuff.
I mean, wouldn't it be great though if like the major news organizations were actually there to cover this?
Yes.
But you know what? I mean, what would be extremely disturbing though is if all these people actually did show up and they did try to storm it.
Yeah, I mean, because some are, right? I mean, thousands have signed up. If 10% show up, I mean, it's still a worthwhile news story, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think some people are going to show, or is everyone going to forget by then?
No, I think there's going to be people there, but they're going to be like, eh.
Yeah, is anyone going to I just feel like I feel like it's going to be really anticlimactic. No one's going to get shot. They're just going to put up electrified fences or something.
Well, what'll probably happen. They'll probably have the National Guard there, and
Do you think they'll have a line of guardsmen with rubber bullets? That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I think they will. I think they will have
set
a riot.
Up a first line with rubber bullets and stuff to shoot everybody down, and then right behind that is going to be
the actual bullets.
Yeah, the guys with AKs, and behind that they got laser guns.
Yeah,
because that's for real.
And then they'll be flying out the Independence Day type of technology where they're shooting that green shit at them.
Do not shoot that green shit at me.
Seriously, this might be a little deep issue-y, but do you think there's actually aliens locked up in Area 51?
Oh man.
Yes.
Alex does. That's my son is trying to talk to the microphone that's turned off. He says yes. But no.
No?
I go back and forth on this a lot. I think there's some crazy stuff in there. We actually did cover this on a Deep Issues a while back.
Mm-hmm.
I actually am kind of the opinion, and I know this is a conspiracy within a conspiracy that makes you less of a conspiracy theorist in some ways, I guess, to self-define it. But I believe that a lot of the quote-unquote alien stuff, that the powers that be, the theys of the world, the government, I think they're not actually alien things. I think they want you to believe it's alien stuff.
Yeah.
So you don't look at, like, and just say, wow, look at all the stuff the government has. You know, I think for the most part, when people see a UFO, I'm more prone to think
It's government.
Yeah, that's a crazy government craft that we don't know about yet. And I bet there's some really crazy stuff over at Area 51.
I bet there's crazy fucking technology there. Like, did you see the was it the best?
But Area 51's not the only place that has stuff
No.
like this, too. There's other places.
No, but did you see, like, the video from that, like, was it the Bastille Day parade in France, where they had this guy on this hoverboard, and it was like supposedly this new technology that, you know, they may put soldiers on hoverboards, but this guy was like going like, you know, a top speed on this thing. I think it was like 90 miles an hour. And it wasn't like those cheap Sharper Image hoverboards that, you know, catch on fire.
It's like the one that Biff pulls out in Back to the Future 2.
Dude,
that's way better than the other people's hoverboard.
Yeah, but no, Green Goblin.
Oh, okay.
This is what this hoverboard was like. And I'm just thinking to myself, if we're seeing that right now, you can only imagine what type of shit they have locked behind these, you know, these reinforced steel walls of, you know, that are
stuff that people,
you know, that are
seen it.
Yeah, that are stories, you know, 10 stories below some mountain.
Oh, I mean, and you hear about these guys that worked on it, and this isn't like conspiracy stuff. You hear about these guys who have worked on it, and they got to sign a stack of NDAs before they work on it, and all they worked on was like the tip of the wing.
Yeah.
Like, they're not even allowed to see anything else. They're just like, yeah, well, you know, I'm not allowed to say anything. All I saw was, you know, it's one tiny little part, and like, and they could be sued just for saying that, you know. But, you know, the example I always like to use with this, and I know I've said it before on this show and on Deep Issues in the past too, is the government now acknowledges, this is not conspiracy stuff, this is 100% truth. The government acknowledges that they had the stealth bomber. The stealth bomber is still like this secretive thing that, you know, they have. We know they have it. They fly them. Hell, they do flyovers with stealth bombers at Michigan Stadium now.
And they're cool looking planes.
They're awesome.
Yeah.
They're awesome. Very high tech. They had the stealth bomber, or admit to having the stealth bomber, in 1978. Think about the car your parents were driving in 1978, or maybe you, depending on, you know,
how old you are.
But seriously, I mean, like, I was born in 80, but I mean, think about like the car your parents were driving in 1978. Think about that technology compared to the car you drive now.
Yeah.
The Ford Focus you drive now, or whatever you have now, compared to that. They had the stealth bombers in 78, maybe before. They admit to having it in 78.
I'm sure they had it before that.
But, I mean, if they had that in 78, what the hell do they have in 2019?
Yeah.
I mean, seriously. Because it just shows the higher technology that they possess.
Not only that, Josh, I mean, some of the most basic things that we use today was developed by the military. Like,
absolutely.
like the smartphone.
Right.
That wasn't something developed by, you know, a regular, you know, like a conglomerate like Apple. That was something that was commissioned and developed by the military.
Yeah.
And again, I mean, we see the smartphone now. It's not something that really blows our top or anything like that, or something that's incredibly amazing to us nowadays. But you got to think of yourself when, you got to think of when this technology first came out, like back in the, the earlier 2000s. And when you really truly think about the smartphone now, it's still pretty remarkable in and of itself what it can do. But the smartphone, I mean, just looking back in the government having this idea and where this eventually, where this came out of and what they had initially to even start this. I mean, I have my smartphone in front of me right now. I know your son has his over there, and you have yours. And you think about, okay, when was this really a concept?
In Area 51, they might be teleporting people.
Who knows?
For all I know, that wouldn't even surprise me.
We've had shows on time travel, Josh. We've had shows on different dimensions and just a bunch of different things. I would bet that one of those things that we've talked about, whether it's time travel, whether it's alternate dimensions, stuff like that, the government has some type of insight on it. You have to think that's the case,
right?
So,
and you know what? And do they have they had some sort of contact with aliens or something? Perhaps. I don't rule that out. And were they storing that kind of stuff at Area 51 at one point? Maybe. But I don't necessarily think that all the technology comes from the aliens type thing. I don't necessarily think that. But then again, I still have trouble disbelieving the conspiracy of the Roswell crash way back in 47. That it sure as hell wasn't what they claim it was.
Yeah.
And we know that. It definitely wasn't a balloon that went down.
It's always a weather balloon.
Yeah. I mean, so, do they have that there? Have they reverse engineered some of it? I don't know. Maybe. But yeah, I mean, the stuff that, they hide this stuff for decades, then we find out about it. What are they hiding now? When they told us about the stealth bomber, they didn't stop hiding stuff that day. They wanted us to know about it. The way I look at it, by the time they tell us, it's practically obsolete to them.
Yeah, no kidding.
I mean, that's really, 1978, my mom was driving an AMC Hornet in 1978. I mean, that's like the cars that people were driving then, a lot of people wouldn't even be able to not like they're that different, but people don't even know how to function cars like that. A lot of a lot of modern people don't. Put a 17, 18-year-old kid in these cars, they're probably not even gonna be able to keep it running half the time. It's stalling out, it's doing weird stuff. God forbid it has a manual transmission in it. I mean, really, people don't even know what they're doing with this stuff. So what has the government done in between then and now? I don't even know.
And vice versa, too. I mean, you look at some of the cars now. I mean, you open up the hood, and it's like...
Oh, yeah.
It's like, what the fuck?
Oh, my... You know what, man? I'm not much of a mechanic myself, but I have worked on cars. I have changed stuff. I can do a little bit, but just recently, and I've never had I've always driven American cars. I drive a German car now. And recently, I had an issue with my car. And I admit, man, I popped the hood. I don't even know what I'm looking at. I get the hood open. I'm YouTubing stuff on my phone. I'm like, I don't think I can do this.
Well, not only that. I mean, generally speaking, you could open something up. You could be like, oh, okay, there's the battery. There's, the manifold. There's, where the air filter is and so on and so forth. But yeah, I mean, some of these, you open them up. Some of these newer ones are like... Where the hell's the battery?
I opened my car up and they're like, okay, I'm gonna have to pull the spark plugs and stuff. I open up okay, where are the spark plugs in this thing? Seriously, I know what a spark plug looks like. I've changed spark plugs. I gotta find the damn things first though. I'm sure. When I first got that car, I'll be honest. Maybe I'm just stupid, but it took me 5 minutes to find where you check the oil.
Really?
Yeah, I was all right, I've had this car for a month. I really should be checking the oil. I mean, open this up and check the oil. It's in here somewhere.
It is a car. It does take oil.
Yeah. And I found it. It's there, and they are for the most part the same.
After some YouTube.
Yeah, some mechanism. And I mean, when I was married, my ex-wife, my wife at the time, she had said something. I was like, oh, I'll check the transmission fluid. I went out there. I'm like, I can't find the dipstick.
A lot of them don't have dipsticks.
Yeah,
now,
and that's what I heard. I was like, oh, well, I heard some of them don't have it anymore, so
yeah,
they did. Her dad, who was a mechanic, for like 40 years, retired, came over, and he did find it. It was in there, but like it wasn't that quick. Like he did, but he's like, oh, maybe it is. Maybe you're right. Maybe it's one of those ones that doesn't have it. And then after some examination, he's like, oh no. I was like, oh, all right, no, you're right. You found it.
Which is dumb. Why wouldn't a car have a dipstick for the transmission?
I don't know.
Because my 2009 Sport Track, I had to get a new transmission put on it, and it didn't have a dipstick.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, some of them don't. It's weird. And the batteries are in the trunk now. I didn't
really?
know that. Yeah.
That's weird.
In a lot of cars. I didn't know the battery was in the trunk till I went to change the battery on my wife at the time's car. Went to change the battery, opened up the hood. Couldn't find the damn thing.
It's in the trunk. Jesus.
And then I didn't even find it until I found where, like, an area below where it should be, where you can jump it from the thing, and it just said something about batteries in the trunk. I'm like, oh, I guess I should have known that. All right.
My battery is in my car now.
I think they do that mostly with, like, smaller economy type cars.
Oh, really?
But still, weird. Yeah. But hey, we had a news section today, though, right?
We do.
So it's been a while since we went around the empire with Adam Hernandez.
Yep. Let's go ahead and take it tonight. You remember those ice raids that were happening? Was it last weekend? I think it was last weekend.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, according to the Associated Press, that yielded 35 total arrests after there being a target of 2,100 total people. One potential reason for this was the massive organization amongst communities to protect these immigrants. Immigrants activists led a campaign, Know Your Rights, in cities like Houston, New York, and Chicago with large immigrant populations. And there's a quote here from that. To inform the public, they used hotlines, text networks, workshops, social media, and prompted a smartphone app that notifies family members in case of an arrest. Because a lot of the times these ICE officers were going to these places of residence without a warrant to actually go into the house. And a lot of the times people don't know whether you're whether you're here in this country illegally or you're not, that people don't know their rights when it comes to warrants and what you do if a policeman or law enforcement somebody in law enforcement knocks on your door. I mean, a lot of people out there think that, oh, well, they're knocking on my door, I have to let them in, or I have to talk to them, which isn't the case, whether you're here illegally or you're not.
Well, and the argument to this would be, well, they're not American citizens, they don't have those rights. But the law enforcement still has to have a warrant.
Yes, they still have to have a warrant.
And no matter what crime you've committed, you say, well, you've already committed the crime, you're here illegally. Well, you're still innocent till proven guilty, are you not? Mm-hmm. So the onus of proving this does still fall on law enforcement.
And there are some, there is some legal precedent too that and I know this is going to cause some controversy with some people, that foreign citizens or illegal immigrants are protected under the Constitution. There was precedent set before that suspected terrorists apprehended by the United States also had protection under the United States Constitution. And again,
just the innocent until proven guilty alone shows that. That's really the only protection one needs.
Yeah, exactly.
From this.
Exactly. So, and this is like I said, this is good measure for immigrants, if you are, if you're, you know, in the United States illegally, or you're not, or just, you know, naturalized citizens or citizens.
Whoever you are. It's
yeah,
good
whoever
advice.
whoever
It's
you
good
are.
advice.
That you don't have to, you know, your best bet is to not talk to the police. It's, you know, you don't have to open the door for them if they're knocking there, if they don't have a warrant. Like, if they have a warrant to go into your place, they're gonna knock the door down anyway.
Now, if they're flashing
Yeah.
a warrant in your peephole, you might as well open the door, unless you know, unless you want to replace your hinges, because they're coming in, and they do have the warrant. Then that is you know, that is acceptable. But quite honestly,
But don't talk to them, though.
no.
Don't talk to them. Once they're in your house,
Whoever
don't
you
talk to
are,
them.
Whoever you are, if you've committed a crime or haven't committed a crime, the Fifth Amendment exists for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
You do have the right to remain silent, and it's a really good idea, people.
Yep.
It really is. Don't
Innocent or
say
guilty.
anything.
Innocent or guilty.
Wait, I mean, haven't people watched Cops enough time? when the cop is saying, you know, honesty goes a long way. No, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
Don't believe the cop that
No.
says honesty will go a long way, because have you ever watched an episode of Cops where they say honesty goes a long way, and they say, yeah, there's a bunch of dope in the trunk, and they let them go?
Yeah.
No, they don't let you go. They don't let you go.
No.
They don't let you go for being
They
honest
don't.
about your crime.
And it's not illegal for the cops to lie to you, too.
And they're not the judge, they're not the jury, and they're certainly not the executioner.
No.
So if you have committed a crime, it's not their job to deport you right that second, or to lock you in jail right that second, or to they actually, you know, they are there to arrest you, and they will probably arrest you, and
Yep.
you probably shouldn't resist. You know, I mean, we all know what happens when you resist. So, you know, there isn't much use to that either.
This opens the door for the state to,
Right,
you
but
know,
it's
inflict violence on you.
it is a judge's job, potentially a jury, but most likely a judge's job to say whether or not you are going to jail or being deported or any other, you know, myriad ways of punishment.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, have you seen the video of it was all over Facebook, the Mexican dudes? They're all, you can tell, like, one of them is like setting them up, you know, because they're taping them. They're all around the all sitting around the table, and somebody yells like ICE is here, and they like start to scatter, and then this other dude who's like one of their buddies walks in. He's got like 4 bags of ice.
I didn't see that.
they all scatter. It might be staged. It doesn't look like it's staged. It looks like it's. I mean, the joke is staged,
Yeah.
you know, but it's pretty funny. And then just like this other dude, also Mexican, you know, walks in. He's got like 4 bags of ice. He's laughing his ass off already. But
I didn't see
it was
that.
pretty funny. They're all like, "Oh, you suck." It was a funny video.
The UK now has their own blonde problem at the top of their leadership. As expected, Boris Johnson was elected to succeed Theresa May as the British Prime Minister, a role he's expected to take on Wednesday. And it doesn't come without massive amounts of controversy, even within his own Conservative Party. He is notoriously lazy and doesn't offer a lot of solution, but he is expected to devise a plan to get Britain out of the EU within the next 99 days. And he's one of the biggest vocal proponents of Brexit for the United Kingdom. And he's got quite the job ahead of him. Something that his predecessors, David Cameron didn't want to undertake it at all.
Right.
And Theresa May couldn't get it done. So it's now left up to Boris Johnson.
I'm not a fan of hers, but I felt bad for Theresa May at the end. I mean, I really did. She couldn't do anything right. You know, everybody hated her. It seems. You know,
British Parliament sounds like it seems like a cutthroat.
Oh, it does. Yeah, I mean, they just resigned. They just quit. I mean, could you imagine if our top officials did that as often as they do in Britain?
In Parliament.
Yeah, I mean, they just quit.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, that was fun. I'm out.
Can you imagine Donald,
Imagine if, the president did that, or Mitch McConnell,
Yeah.
or Nancy Pelosi.
Chuck Schumer? Yeah.
I mean, for one thing, with how disliked they are, they would have done it a long time ago if we had the same.
Can you imagine some of them? Can you imagine some of them in British Parliament though? God. Like Donald Trump, for instance. Can you imagine them in British Parliament?
Donald Trump, it seems like he should be in British Parliament. Actually, his tweets seem like that's why when Europeans, Brits especially, criticize Donald Trump for his tweets and the way he talks, which I criticize Trump for that too.
Yeah.
I'm like, I've seen your parliament on C-SPAN, guys. Like, you have no room to talk.
You know what's funny too is they actually, I don't know if you knew this or not, but like they have like this scepter in the middle of the room that is supposed to be there. If it's not there, then they can't pass any laws or, you know.
It's from the House of... Now the House of Commons is the one with real power, but it's like the House of Lords places that there. So
actually,
they're not allowed to talk unless the House of Lords.
Well, the Queen places it there because that is supposed to represent the Queen's presence there. And I guess she just does that now. It's kind of like a rubber stamp.
It just stays there, yeah.
Yeah, where, okay, well, you guys can go ahead and do this. I don't want to fucking be there right now.
Just like they reenact the thing every year where they, like, knock down the door for the House of Lords and they let them in.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, you know, it's a thing they do. It's like, but it's, the House of Commons runs it. I mean, the Queen's supposed to give her, basically, it's like their State of the Union every year. Parliament writes it.
Yeah.
Oh.
The British people and their silly traditions.
I know, they're so goofy. They are. They're so goofy. I love them to some degree too, but they're so goofy. It's like and cook your French fries longer, and stop calling them chips. Chips come in a bag.
Oh, their French fries are soggy.
Yeah. I mean, I've never been to England, but it seems like, you know, I mean, like fish and chips. They invented it. I love fish and chips. It's like, don't go to England for fish and chips. Go to Detroit. I mean, there's like better fish and chips all over the world than there is in England.
My wife went to London, England, and several years ago now. But like one thing they do that, like, they don't like refrigerate like we do here in the United States. Like their milk is often warm, and same thing with like stuff that should be refrigerated. Like they don't. It seems like they have any concept of cold drinks there.
Yeah, and it's kind of like like, oh well, that's because stuff is fresh. It's like, you know what? It tastes better cold.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. It's like I know. I wish Dorf was here. He could probably comment on this, but like a lot of like the craft beer guys. Mm-hmm. I'm not like a craft beer snob, but
Dorf would need to be there for that.
But a lot of them are like, oh no, this one's supposed to be drank warm. That's like the traditional way. It's like they didn't drink beer warm back in the 1800s because it's better warmer. It's supposed to be.
Because they didn't
have fridges. They didn't have refrigerators. That's why they did it. It's like if they had refrigerators back then, they would have drank their ales cold. They would have drank their water cold and their milk cold and everything else cold. It tastes better. It tastes better.
Moving on. Donald Trump files a lawsuit against the Ways and Means Committee, according to Axios. Donald Trump has filed a lawsuit as a private citizen against the House Ways and Means Committee, the New York Attorney General, Lita James, and New York Tax Commissioner Michael Schmidt in an effort to prevent them from releasing his state tax returns. So, not quite sure how that's going to end up, but Donald Trump has nonetheless filed a lawsuit against them. The 9/11 Victims Compensation Fund has been extended through 2092. In a 97-2 final tally, the Senate today voted to fund the 9/11 Victims Compensation Fund through 2092. Senators Rand Paul and Mike Lee were the only senators to vote no. The fund, which helps roughly 93,000 9/11 first responders and victims, are still being monitored and or treated after the attacks back in 2001 would have seen aid run out by 2020. According to the New York Daily News, the total number of people killed as a result of the 9/11 attacks is set to exceed 2,977 people. Apple in talks to buy Intel smartphone modem chip business. The Wall Street Journal is reporting that Apple is still in talks to buy Intel's smartphone modem chip business. The reason behind this is for Apple looking to develop its own modem capabilities for its iPhone after a recently settled legal dispute with Qualcomm. Tom Hanks, I don't know if anybody saw this or not, is a spot-on Mr. Rogers. The new trailer for A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood dropped Monday and featured Tom Hanks nailing the role of the TV icon Fred Rogers. The movie itself is set to be released this upcoming Thanksgiving. If you guys haven't seen the trailer yet,
I haven't actually. I saw still photos of it.
Yeah, it is on our website, theempiremedia.com. You can also check out thehub.theempiremedia.com and check it out there. But it is. Tom Hanks does play an amazing Mr. Rogers, it looks like. Yeah.
He's
yeah, you know what? As I get older, I think I'm like really starting to appreciate Mr. Rogers more.
Me too.
Me
too.
The guy was
what an awesome person.
Yeah, the guy was a genius. He was maybe the nicest guy in the world.
Yeah, really. It just no. What a great man.
Yeah, like his sayings, his quotes is something that not just kids can live by, but maybe more so adults could live by.
Anything that keeps his memory going longer, I support.
Yeah, I mean,
you know, he what a great. Have you ever seen the old tapes? They're, you know, you can tell they're old of him speaking before Congress.
Yes,
those are so good. And there's that crotchety old congressman who you think is going to be against him.
that old Democratic
he just
lawmaker,
looks like a cigar smoking old you know.
And he was
he was awesome. The congressman or senator is awesome too, because you know you can tell he doesn't even know who Mr. Rogers is. And you know, Fred Rogers gives the speech in the
impassioned speech.
Yeah, and the senator is just like, "Hey, you sold me."
Yeah,
like, yeah.
He's basically like, we'll give you any any amount of money that you want.
You can tell he totally did a 180 in front of everybody. Like, yeah, okay,
you know,
right. Yeah, you made your case. I'm with you.
I briefly read up on that particular. Lobbying in front of Congress that Fred Rogers did, and that congressman that he convinced right then and there. Yeah, I forget his name, but he was known to be a just a very, very tough guy to convince and to win over. And yeah, I mean, that guy kind of broke down himself and said, yeah, you know what, that.
Yeah, like, hey, you just got your funding.
Yeah, So I mean, and that's the. It seemed like that's the kind of guy that Fred Rogers was. He wasn't a, controversy never followed him.
No.
He was genuine. He was somebody that truly, it seemed like, put others before himself. Yeah. So yeah, I'm with you though, Josh. Anything that would further immortalize him, I'm completely all for. It's based on obviously it's based on a true story, but it's based on a journalist who kind of did this report on him back in the late 90s. And it talks about how, his interviews and his interactions with him kind of, changed his own life. So, but
Speaking of movie trailers, you see Top Gun 2?
I did.
That looks awesome.
I did. It does look really cool.
I think it looks, I was like, yeah, I'm on board with this.
You know what though? I would have had. I think one of the greatest openings to a movie is Top Gun.
Mm-hmm.
God, why didn't they kind of replicate that in some ways with that trailer?
You know what? That's only the teaser.
Maybe
they will.
I know, but kind of have it, have it sit there and, be real slow and kind of get that Top Gun, music going, then all of a sudden break into Kenny Loggins,
They gotta play the Kenny Loggins song in the
I'm
movie.
sure they will
I
at
hope
some
they
point.
Will. They need to.
But, the only good thing about The Force Awakens was the trailer itself.
Yeah.
And I can remember, seeing that for the first time and then, all of a sudden seeing the Millennium Falcon kind of, bust out of nowhere. And, I mean, it gets you pumped up for the movie. And like I said, that was the only good thing about that movie. But, yeah, I mean, I'm hoping that they do bust out some Kenny
all
Loggins.
the Star Wars slappies like me now are seeing the Episode 9 one, like, oh, I don't know, maybe it'll be good. Like,
With the Palpatine laugh and...
Like, do you guys remember the Force Awakens and Last Jedi trailers? They were good, too.
Okay, I work with some, and this is going to put you and Alex kind of... I was downtrodden when I heard this.
Mm-hmm.
It's a
I
spoiler,
was-
right?
Well, I'll turn on your mic here, because this is important. We were sitting there having a discussion, and this person, was a very, very good person, said that she liked The Last Jedi. I was thinking to myself, like, that's the worst one.
Yeah.
That's worse than The Force Awakens.
That's how. No,
I was recently talking...
Okay, I'm turning off your mic again.
I was recently... Actually, not even that recently, because it was before Last Jedi came out, so quite a while ago. Talking with somebody who's a big Star Wars fan. I'm not even going to say their name. I'm not going to say their name on air, because I don't want to out them for this. But I was just shocked, because we're just going through our Star Wars list.
Mm-hmm.
And they had Force Awakens at, third overall. And I was just like, wait, what? And, the way they said it, I was like, okay, so you're putting, when you said, Empire and then Phantom Menace and then this, you meant, the whole other trilogy and the whole other trilogy and then Force Awakens, right? No, it's my either third or second favorite overall.
That person just doesn't like Star Wars.
And I was just I can't talk to you about this anymore. I don't even want to talk to you about
I'm gonna get angry.
Yeah,
I'm gonna say some stuff that I might regret later on.
You're a Star Wars fan.
No, they're not.
Yeah, it's exactly. It's no, you're not. Yeah,
No.
you don't. You're not. You don't get it.
No.
you just don't get it. You're. And that just kind of made me you're entitled to your opinion. It's just I just never want to hear your opinion about anything ever again.
I think the third spot is reserved for any movie in the original trilogy.
Yeah, I agree.
If you're not naming a movie in the original trilogy in the third spot, I don't think you're a real Star Wars fan.
I kind of agree with you for the most part. Yeah, I mean...
Me too.
Yeah, I mean... Yeah, I agree with you.
So I think for me, it's probably Rogue One.
Yeah, which that's different.
And I've said
Rogue One.
I've said that many times before that Rogue One is my top. I'll probably go Empire number 2, A New Hope 3, and Return of the Jedi 4.
What's yours?
Mine goes Jedi, Empire, A New Hope, Revenge of the Sith, Attack of the Clones, Phantom Menace, Rogue One, Solo, Battle for Endor, Caravan of Courage.
Shut up!
Last Jedi, Force Awakens, I get, or Force Awakens, Last Jedi, or one. Yeah, I don't care. You can mix or match.
All right, Alex, what are your top 3?
Empire, Return of the Jedi, Revenge of the Sith.
Empire, Return of the Jedi, Revenge of the Sith.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Especially, I can see younger people too. Like Alex, I know a lot of people. I know quite a few younger people that put one of the prequel movies first. But if they're Star Wars fans in the top 3, they're then it's gonna be Empire.
I probably go with Revenge of the Sith 4 for me.
Yeah, I think it's.
Oh wait, no, 5. 5. I mean 5 for me.
I think it's the best of the prequels.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah,
I do too.
Unless you count Rogue One as a prequel, that could be. But I'm still a prequel fan, the prequel trilogy.
Rogue One is a prequel.
Well, I think that they're definitely more. You can appreciate them more after the garbage that they've released after Return of the Jedi. So.
And I guess Rogue One and Solo are technically prequels, but when you say prequels, I mean the prequel trilogy for the most part.
A couple more things here. Is GameStop the next to die? Is GameStop the next retailer to succumb to the online and digital revolution that has killed the likes of Blockbuster and Borders? Not so fast. GameStop Chief Customer Officer Frank Hamlin says in a recent interview with GameSpot, citing that the physical game business still has a market due to the internet still not being available to everyone in games like Red Dead Redemption 2 and its potential 8K graphics capability, pushing a file size of 400 gigabytes. Still, though, the company's share price is hovering around $4, which is down from the $55 it was back in November of 2013 and the $60 it was back in 2007. again, interesting that this comes up, considering, yes, online gaming has certainly had a bigger, not so much as of an impact that, online movies and online music has had, but it's certainly starting to gain ground, especially with, like app stores and,
Sure.
Some of the new stuff that PlayStation and Xbox One is coming out with, and even like those online services like Steam.
So, which Steam is a thing that, was big, pretty much died to the point where people didn't even realize it was still around, and now it's back.
Yeah. I know my brother's really big into Steam.
Yeah.
And I mean, is GameStop going to be around forever? No. Do I think it's going to be gone here within the next few years? Yeah, I do. I mean, especially when you see those share prices. I mean, that kind of trend, that's not the making of something that's going to be around for, the long haul. And as far as his reasonings as to why it's not going, why there's still a market and a place for physical gaming, I don't think the internet thing is much of a backup or a reason as to why physical gaming is still going to be around, considering internet is pretty much everywhere nowadays. The one thing though is that file size for some of these games. I mean, you're pushing 400 gigabytes. That's definitely too big for an iPhone or any kind of smartphone. And as far as the download time for something like that, it's going to take a while for you to download something like that, and it's going to take up much of a good portion of a hard drive. But that's just the technology now.
Right.
I mean, 5 years from now, who knows what it's going to be?
I get kind of a weird opinion on this because, I'm a big time retro gamer, and I'm also a big time fan of the brick and mortar stores.
Yeah.
I really am. I don't want to do that stuff online, and I love my retro stuff, and I love the console. I'm a console gamer, but when I hear about them going out of business, I actually think good. I actually want them to. Because for one thing, I never forgave them for stopping being Funkoland and stocking old stuff. When they switched over, that pissed me off. And sure, I've still bought stuff there over the years. But I agree with their CEO when he says there's still a need for, a brick and mortar type store. But I know some awesome stores out there, guys I know personally, who run small time video game stores, and I want them to stick around. I want those ones that will still sell old TurboGrafx 16 games.
And maybe those are the guys that actually end up surviving, because you can't go to a GameSpot or GameStop and find stuff like that.
No, and that's the thing is if GameStop goes out of business, then that can ensure that some of these small time ones can stay alive. Selling retro stuff, selling used stuff, buy, sell, trade type places, which I know that GameStop does that, but only with newer systems, But if they go out of business, then some of these smaller places can stay alive, and that still will give people a chance to go to a brick and mortar store and reserve something to actually get it physically. That because you can do that in all those places too, and still get get stuff. Place to go, and if you're that person that only wants the latest and greatest, a place to go and trade in your PlayStation 6 for the new PlayStation 7 and get a big discount, in a few years. I want that to still exist. But if GameStop goes under, then maybe some of these, for lack of a better term, like ma and pa type video game stores.
Is Destiny Games still around?
Yes, it is.
Is it?
Yes, Destiny Games, very cool place here, local. That's not doing anything for people that don't live in this area, but for those of you in the Detroit area, Destiny Games, awesome place. There's another place I go to. Destiny Games is my go-to, but there's a place. I can't remember what it's called. Right on 5 Mile in Livonia. Oh man,
it's so mod pod they don't even have a name.
It's do you remember what it's called, Alex? That place where we got the restaurant? No, sorry. Oh man, if I think of it, I'll say because I'd love to give him a little plug. Wireless Guru. Is what he's
Wireless
called.
Guru.
Wireless Guru, and Destiny Games. I'm happy they're not paying us, but I'd be happy to give them a little plug. For people in Detroit area for sure. Very cool places, and so much better than going to a GameStop.
Yeah.
So much better. It's it's such a cool atmosphere, and they got everything a GameStop has.
Yeah.
And what they don't, they can get. Mm-hmm. What they don't, they can get for you.
And GameStop is way more expensive.
It is.
Yep.
It's true.
Like $100 games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That I kind of compare that to like some of those like Sam Goody.
Yeah. Yep.
In comparison to like some of the more independent
right, yeah,
record stores that you go to.
You're right. When the big time record stores went under, people were like, oh, the record stores are dead. It's like, no, that actually means that neighborhood record store that maybe it has a chance to stay alive for another 10 or 15 years. Mm-hmm. That's to me what that means.
We're in a it's as weird as it sounds though. I don't know if there's quite the comparison that can be made when it comes to older music and older video games, just because there's so much more of a scope and spectrum when it comes to vintage video games.
Yeah.
That you don't quite have that with vintage music. I mean, you have records,
right,
and you could have record stores still that sell that type of thing.
Oh yeah, the music stores, the ones that stayed alive are the ones that are buy sell trade places, where you can get the newest CD, but where you can go look and oh man, do they have that Allman Brothers record?
Yeah, but people are going to want to buy records though.
Right,
they're not going to want to buy
than
CDs or anything like that anymore.
And we saw that even recently with like stores like Target and Best Buy.
They
stopped selling CDs, but they still sell records.
They still sell records, yeah. A couple other things here. Mark Sanchez retires from the NFL to take an ABC ESPN college football broadcasting job. 32-year-old Mark Sanchez, a former fifth overall pick, of the New York Jets, has opted to call it a career after receiving 0 offers from NFL teams this offseason. The Sanchez decision, though, was essentially made for him after ABC offered him a very lucrative job, which he'll take over for Mac Brown during the main in-studio televised broadcast. Mac Brown went and actually took a head coaching job with North Carolina. Aside from being an epic bust, Sanchez did see some success his first 2 years in the league, but will be most remembered for his epic butt fumble against the New England Patriots. And then finally, Josh, I don't know.
They did him dirty. You never do Sanchez dirty.
I don't know why MTV is still doing this, but they did release their 2019 VMA nominees.
Oh.
And if anybody's interested in that, they can go to our website and click the link there and go and check those out.
Yeah.
But
sure, it's fascinating.
Yeah. I bet you I couldn't name one person on there.
I'm certain of it.
Again, it is laughable that MTV still peddles this bullshit. Because MTV doesn't play videos anymore.
No, they don't. They do not. MTV has nothing to do with music.
If MTV wants to have a shitty reality TV award show, then by all means.
Yeah, that's what they should be.
You are now the authority on that. But video music awards
and best pregnant 16-year-old of 2019 is
so-and-so, who is now on their third child.
Yeah, whose name you won't remember in 3 years.
God, isn't that awful though?
Yeah, it does. It
like
sucks.
Sitting there,
MTV was so cool. It used to be so cool back in the day. You just turned on MTV and it was just like the radio, but TV.
Yeah.
You just turned
leave it on.
Yeah, you just turned it on and there was just music on all day.
Yeah.
And it was so cool to just have that in the corner. The artist, the album, that people knew music back then because that was there.
Yep.
And it wasn't like listening to the radio where you had to wait and hope that you caught when they said the artist. If it was a new song you heard, you're hoping you catch it when they say the artist, and maybe you'll get lucky and they'll say the name of the album too that it was off of. But no, that was awesome on MTV. You knew what they looked like then.
Yeah.
There's some trendiness to that too. You knew what they looked like and how they were dressing and all that stuff.
You know what's weird too, Josh? And I know we're got to wrap up here, but real quick, and this is something my wife and I talked about, but you look at some of the guys, some of the performers, some of the artists back during the 70s and the 80s, and in some sense the 90s. Their look you wouldn't think that would be a look that would work for the camera.
Right.
I'm thinking Phil Collins.
Yeah.
Like Phil Collins probably got tons of women coming into his room with him.
Oh yeah.
And he looked like that.
Yeah.
Like, can you imagine
If
Phil?
he wasn't a rock star, I mean, what kind of game would Phil Collins have if he wasn't a rock star?
Yeah, like, can you imagine? Can you take Phil Collins out of the 70s and the 80s and put him in today's, music industry?
Yeah.
It wouldn't be the
Yeah.
and the ironic
Because they
thing,
certainly don't care that he had talent.
no, and the ironic thing about that too is you saw more of the face of these guys because they were on these music videos all the time. And now I get you do see it. I mean, you can go on YouTube but people used to watch MTV all the time and they saw this all the time. It just it was different back then.
It was.
I mean, you think about all these other guys too.
Yeah, some ugly dudes. But yeah, they didn't care. They had talent, and then it's like you cease being ugly. It's like there's like no such thing as an ugly rich man.
Yeah.
Like no such thing as an ugly rock star.
Like Paul Simon. I
Yeah.
mean,
It's like, doesn't matter, man.
No.
You can write music, you can play music. I think Snoop Dogg said something about that once.
Did he?
Yeah, he was talking about how like the rappers get a lot of chicks. He's like, they definitely get a lot of chicks. He's like, but those guys holding guitars, man. Like those guys holding guitars, man, they pull some chicks.
Did he say he needed to learn guitar?
I think it was Snoop Dogg.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
talking about that.
Snoop Dogg.
Love Snoop Dogg.
Love Snoop Dogg. Yeah, I
Hilarious.
love Snoop Dogg. He was on Howard. Well, I got this interview. He's Howard. It was a great interview. You got to go YouTube it. It's an awesome interview.
I'm sorry, recent one?
No, it wasn't recent, but he talks about.
It's not the one where he takes the collar, is it?
I don't think so. He actually like goes into pretty good detail about this time when he was hanging out with Tupac, and Tupac brought Madonna over.
I think you told me about that off air a while ago.
Yeah, and like you would think, oh, Madonna, she probably like Tupac was like, they walk in and he's like, sit right there to Madonna. It's like, what the hell? It's like Tupac is saying that to Madonna. It's like, damn.
There's an old interview with on Howard with Snoop Dogg where somebody gets through the call screener and obviously told him he was gonna say something else, but just gets on and Snoop. They're like, hey man, what's up? The guy's like, hey Snoop, what's up? Man? Why'd you kill Biggie? he's like what? I was just wondering why you killed Biggie.
What did he say?
He's like he got like real indignant about it, and then he kind of like starts talking about like, hey, I was one of the guys that was trying to be a peacemaker with all that East-West stuff, and he's like, yeah,
I believe
cool.
him.
Why'd you kill Biggie? He's like kept saying it.
I believe him too. He was getting a lot of shit at the end.
Yeah.
At the end there because of the way he was trying to be a peacemaker.
Yeah.
I don't think he killed Biggie.
I definitely don't think he did it personally.
No. Suge Knight probably called the hit, and
He
it
may
was
have.
it was some low-ranking guy in that in that whole
Somebody owed a favor.
yeah. Anyways, though,
No, it was a good show tonight. Definitely want to thank Aaron Eggemeyer for coming on. Talked about that earlier. I want to thank Alex for his Star Wars input as well. And we'll see you. No shows next week, right? Unless you plan to do something. or to be determined. Not next week. I won't be here next
Yeah,
week.
correct. No shows next week.
But 2 weeks from now, we're coming back with a special XCast. It sounds like we'll be doing an XCast and a Deep Issues in 2 weeks with Aaron at XCast and Ed on Deep Issues
with Anonymous.
Yes, with Anonymous.
Anonymous being the topic. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We appreciate this. It's been episode number 103 of the XCast.
Bye for now, everyone.